Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus. Once again, I want to take a little time out and talk to you about some things that's very, very funny, very, very essential in understanding some things perhaps as I myself have begun to understand them. You've heard me talk about peace amongst all Americans and peace amongst the people of the world. Peace with humankind. You've heard me speak of prosperity for every individual citizen, for every community, for not just every American, but for people all over the globe, wherever people exist. You've heard me talk about joy. And it sounds wonderful to talk about those particulars, and it would seem as if these things are so exciting that perhaps one would be willing to go to whatever measures to acquire them. Well, that's just a presumption. It's not as easy as thought. You think about things like this, and perhaps you've had some other occasion. You know, I used to be a member, an active member of a group called African American Conscious. And what that basically meant is that different groups of people have different ways of seeing things. Sometimes it's motivated by culture, sometimes that culture can have something to do with DNA, so on and so forth, but actually exists. And so when we look at a world that's predominantly is seen as another group, then I'm sure every group got a different perspective about certain things, and so this is just the African American perspective. While I'm not an active member right now, but I am associate member. The founder of the organization had a concept that says the only freedom that African Americans would have is to go back to Africa. And actually, he gave voice to it. He spoke out forceful about the going back to Africa movement. It was an idea that he thought that his generation, or people during the time that the thoughts that were running through his mind, should hear it and perhaps give it some consideration, because it appeared as if everything else was failing here in America for black people. And to me, I thought that was like asking people to strike a match to start the fires of burning of hell. Now, even I recognizing that that match is being scratched every day, yet it is something that the people are not aware of. It's like slipping upon them. But I never thought that would happen. Black people packing up, going back to Africa, a place that they know nothing about, just heard and started listening to people talk about being from Africa and color. No, I didn't see that as happening. And yet, when I look out over America and I go to these various cities, and sometimes when it's dark and the sun is gone and the lights brighten up and you can look at these cities, they seem to be so beautiful. And then the day when the sun rises, you can look at them and they got all together a different beauty, but just as beautiful nonetheless. And it's amazing, the architecture, the infrastructure of these cities throughout the nation, how grand they are. And when I think about how wonderful these cities are, I'm thinking about these buildings, this infrastructure, and I'm thinking the number of people in this country who have investments tied up in these structures, who are profiting from the existence of these structures, a nation that's built on capitalism. And for me to talk about peace and prosperity and joy might be wonderful until you think about how do you acquire this peace, this prosperity and joy. Does it sound as ludicrous as black people packing up their bags moving back to Africa? Well, let's see. It really means getting rid of money. It means changing the system. A new system, a system that does not operate with money. Now, when you hear that, you know that sounds just as ludicrous. People turning loose their money, as much as they have invested their whole lives in money, and you talking about give up money for peace? Well, when we think about it, ladies and gentlemen, look at it. Today, there's a war being threatened with North Korea and the United States of America. And we got two people who each represents a mouth that seems to be uncontrollable. And the people in North Korea seem to be just as hostage as the people in America seem to be hostage to the President of the United States. Now, whether this is going to turn into a war, it remains to be seen. But the potential is there, and the match is being rubbed. Think about the other crimes, the killings in these various cities. These killings are not just happening, they're motivated by something. All of it. People dissatisfied with a system that's working like this. A system that allowed just the other day for hate groups to assemble in Virginia. I mean, really hate groups. Then they were talking about white supremacy. How in the world can in 2000, in the 21st century, we are here talking about white supremacy, and people talking about they're trying to get rid of us? This is what we have come to out of all of the years that humankind has been living on earth. But not only that, at least the 200 years, 200 plus years we've been living here in the United States of America. We've gone through everything. We've gone through presidents being assassinated. We've gone about against public servants being assassinated for standing up and trying to bring some equality to the lives of humankind. And here we are again back in 2017. Repeating the same darn thing we did generations ago, and we got leaders talking about let's go back to when we were great. Can you imagine? And somebody says, get rid of money. Now, why do you say get rid of money? Let me tell you why. The original plan that would bring and promote peace and prosperity and joy is that people respected the fact that no human being or no group of people or nation of people, any people, had any type of superiority over any other. That every person, every people on earth owe their existence to a power outside of themselves that they could not even put their hands on. They could not even touch. They couldn't even see. But they are here because of that power. And to respect that power means respecting one another. Each of them, each human being has the same requirements for survival. Those things that were given from that power that we can't see, the body, all of the organs and instruments necessary to keep it going, the oxygen in the air, the water. These things have already been provided. And the tools for the other things that are required, are essential for survival, have been given from the earth. Everything that's needed. And what are those things? Other requirements for survival. Food. Everybody needs it. Clothing, shelter, education, and healthcare. Every human being on earth requires this. So, respecting one another, it is our duty and responsibility as we try to provide for ourselves these survival tools. We recognize that the beauty and the joy and the ease of it comes when each of us get a chance to play a role in that process. And so we have careers, jobs of our own choosing in institutions that have already been established to meet these goods and services that are required for survival. We put our hands into it. We're already doing it. We create from that which is given from the earth, using what is inside of us to create enough for the whole dead blasted world to live as if they were in heaven. See, that's when we recognize that there's a power outside of ourselves. We call it God, a loving God. Why? Because we want to be loved. And so what we do is we make sure that we give respect for God, love to one another. We don't do that hateful stuff. No, 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 no. That's disrespectful for the power outside of ourselves. But now if we don't respect the power outside of ourselves, then we become God unto ourselves. We become the ones, and if we're going to be God, we got to be God over something. And that basically means we got to be God over others. So we proclaim ourselves as God, connected to the divine outside. And we got the authority to tell everybody what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And we got the right to amass whatever power necessary to make sure that everybody that we try to tell what to do it. Because we can keep them in line by either jailing them, punishing them, putting sanctions on them, or killing them, start wars with them, just to get our way. This is the way the God who has been appointed by self acts. And this is why we're having the thing going on with North Korea today. This is why we have the thing going on with the Middle East and Israel. This is why we got the stuff going on with Iran. This is why we got the stuff going on in Central America and all over the earth. It is because of this self-appointed God. One expression from that self-appointed God, I think I heard it the other day. It said, if anybody mess with us, we are the most powerful force on the face of the earth, and if they mess with us, they will see. Ooh, and see, all Americans should be shaken when you hear a statement like that. Because when any power can stand up boasting themselves as God in that fashion and goes against a minion, a little small nothing, like Goliath and David, then that God will come out and do something miraculous and cause that little nothing to beat the living hell out of that big power, just to remind that big power and everybody that supported that big power that that power ain't really God. It's just fooling you. And then you would have seen the power of God, like crossing the Red Sea. Can't anyway, yes, I come to you and say, money, this fake, self-appointed God, have used money to say that you can still have everything that you want without respecting some other God that you can't see, but by respecting the God that you can see, the God of the founding fathers, the God of the Constitution. And yet, in order for you to have all that you might want, you got to compete against one another. And may the best one win. And the rest of you, you lost. So you got to come up with a scheme next time, or in the meantime. This is what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. And so I say, do you want to continue trusting in this God? this system, this money that has made for all of the problems in America, in your city, in your town, where the hate groups are, where you don't know whose side the cops are on, when some of the city parts of the city looks like whoa, and other parts look like I sure wonder where that's been. Is this where you want to stay? Or are you willing to say, maybe you can make a difference? Maybe black people and white people can get along. Maybe men and women can too. Not only that, maybe straight and gay can get along. Maybe Americans and others of the world can get along. Maybe we can create something that's beautiful and fantastic and wonderful. And we must start by getting that which divides us and destroys us and causes us to compete so hard with a lack of compassion. Nothing wrong with competing to be good, to give your best, but to use, to abuse has got to go. So snatch away that which says that you can't get it unless you got the money. No, baby, you can get it because you're with it. You're getting down with the program. You're a part of the ownership of everything that exists. This is the brotherhood of humankind. I mean, I can just leave that with you. It seems as if that should be simple enough for you to understand. This is Eddie Marcus, ladies and gentlemen, once again saying to you, now is not the time to really panic. Now is the time to recover and stand up and do the right thing. And what is that? Begin to contemplate changing the system. And when I say changing the system, keep this in mind. Focus on a system that reflects what you want. And what is it that you want? What is it that everybody wants? Their dream to come true. And basically, what does that mean? Survival. It means food. It means clothing. It means shelter. It means education. It means health care. And it means something to do while here on this earth, a career of your own choosing that allows you to participate in the process. So no one can say you are nothing. Everyone is somebody. Everyone plays a part, and every part is essential in this beautiful, beautiful thing we're going after here. We put the self-appointed God out of your mind and think about the God that you can't see. So you better bless that God and what the God has given to you and me, and there's one another. Until next time. What did you say? Let me say it one more time. If you want these things, make sure that your system, and if you don't know what the system is, just go after these things and document the steps that it takes to get these things and maintain that as your system to get these things, to keep these things. Let that be your new system. Bye-bye.